Hare Krishna. Somebody can please lead the invocation prayers. Hare Krishna. Somebody.
Prabhuji, may I?
Yeah, Pragya, go ahead.
Prabhuji, give me 2 minutes. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुत्पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजन सहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्य वैष्णवेभ्य नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. So today first I will answer inquiries submitted by you all and bring up on screen these tracking points. And then you will answer the homework questions from last class. And then we will continue from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, verse 23 onwards. As we have already discussed that the crux of discussion in this Chapter 8 on Kunti Maharani prayers is that how to try to use the material world difficulties to remember Krishna, because there will always be difficulties in the material world. Plus, in our today's class, we will also discuss the various qualities of Krishna. It is easier to remember Krishna through his qualities, at least for me. So we'll discuss all those. Let me bring the inquiries on the screen. Question number 1. Why is Srimad Bhagavatam glorifying the sati process? It was mentioned for Uttara and earlier for Ashwatthama's mother Kripi, and gave justification that Kripi has a son and Uttara was pregnant. So if these conditions are not satisfied, is it good for wives to perform sati? So this sati subject matter is a very difficult subject matter to understand in Kali Yuga. Nowadays, it is really difficult. Now, first understand why there is a sati process or why there was a sati process. I mean, nowadays it is illegal, but why there was a sati process. So when husband leaves the body, the wife feels so much pain if she lives alone. That pain will be much more than entering the funeral pyre of the husband. So the husband-wife relationship is pure, not on physical basis only, Therefore, the separation between the husband and wife is very hard. And entering the funeral fire is less tolerable than to live alone. Therefore, there was a sati process. Now, in modern times, our consciousness is to enjoy separately. Therefore, it is difficult to understand this sati process. Now, look at the examples of Kunti Maharani and Madri, the wives of Pandu. So when Pandu left the body, Kunti said that Kunti Maharani is elder, therefore Kunti Maharani should enter the funeral pyre. And Madri said that it is because of Madri that Pandu died, because Pandu got attracted to Madri and the curse got activated. That when Pandu will associate with a female, he will leave his body. So that curse got activated because of Madri. Plus, Madri said that Madri is not as good as Kunti because Kunti will be equal to all 5 sons. So Pandavas are 5 brothers. So 3 are Kunti's direct sons and 2 are Madri's. Although the 2 Madri's sons were also because of Kunti Maharani's boon. So Madri said that Kunti Maharani is elevated and Kunti Maharani will be equal to all 5 sons and Madri may not be equal to all 5 sons. So after a long conversation with the Brahmanas, Madri was decided to enter into Pandu's funeral pyre. Now, come back to Kunti Maharani. The question is, was Kunti Maharani enjoying the world? The answer is no, and you will understand that Kunti Maharani's quality is to only do the duty that was given to her, just to protect the children, because this was the desire of Pandu. Therefore, Kunti Maharani did not enter the husband's funeral pyre. And after the Kurukshetra war was finished, Kunti Maharani said to Yudhishthir that, okay, now my duty is finished, let me go to the forest. And Yudhishthir Maharaj said, what? Now, after so much distress, now we have some good times, and you want to go to the forest? So Kunti said, Kunti is not here to enjoy. Kunti asked to fight because it was the desire of Pandu, plus it was the right thing to do. It was not Kunti's desire to be called as Rajmata after the war was finished. Therefore, Kunti says that Kunti's duty is done. Therefore, Kunti wants to go to the forest, and Kunti did actually go to the forest. So those who are at the sensual nature, they do not understand the Vedic system. Therefore, they will say, well, wow, what is this sati process? I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations on this difficult subject matter. Nitya?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, and it also follows that the mothers who had children or young children or pregnant, they did not commit.
You are correct. Yeah, and we already read in the question the examples of Uttara and Shottama's mother, Kripi. Yeah, you are correct. Does that answer the question?
Prabhuji, very difficult to understand actually.
Yeah, I already said that. It is very difficult to understand in current life because of our consciousness. All right.
It is still considered as a social evil, so I do not know when.
Yeah, so in Kali Yuga, you are not allowed at all now. So we are talking about past history, right? That why there was a sati process. That previously husband and wife's relationship was pure, not at sensual level. And therefore, the wife feels much more pain from the separation as compared to entering the fire, the funeral fire, even when she is alive. So you have to understand the level of purity of their relationship.
But it is unidirectional. Men
Say
will
that
not
again,
sati.
Pragya.
I said it is unidirectional. The relationship is mutual, but the sati is unidirectional. Men will
Yeah,
not
so
sati.
it is not unidirectional. So the other point, that question is why there is no patida. So sati is for wife. So why is there no patida process mentioned in the scriptures? The answer is that normally, during the Vedic times at least, that the husband is elder and the wife is younger. And if one leads a life of spirituality, then the husband would leave the body first, generally. Again, this general. Therefore, the patida system means, say, if the wife leaves the body first, then what happens to the husband? Therefore, this patida system is not mentioned in the scriptures at all, because if you live according to scriptures, well, then the Vedic system will itself take care of the things that husband will generally leave the body first. But again, I agree that it's a difficult process to understand right now. Of course, it is not allowed right now. Vijay Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. They say they become sati because to further they can serve their husband in the higher planetary system. Is it true like that?
So it's not there in scriptures, and it is possible that if they become liberated, not on higher planets, not higher planet in the material world, because there you generally don't have control that which family becomes the family in the next life. But if they get purified and liberated and go back home to Godhead, that could be possible. But although there is no scriptural reference for this, so I will not speculate on that part.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. And one thing you just said very nicely, nowadays they don't want to become sati because they want to enjoy very separately. That's a good point you told. Thank you.
Yeah, so this point will get covered in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. This is the chapter where Krishna enters Dwarka and meets all his wives. That these 16,108 wives are not ordinary. This point about enjoyment will come up in that chapter. I think it's chapter 15 or plus minus 1 or 2 chapters there. That these wives are not ordinary. When Krishna was not physically present and away, say on Kurukshetra or other duties, these wives were like almost dead. They were not enjoying. But in today's times, if the husband is gone, well, the wife is going out on parties. Or the other way is also true, that if the wife is traveling somewhere, the husband is going out on parties. Well, that was not the situation back there in Vedic times. Their relationship was pure, not to enjoy separately at the bodily level. Everybody on the same page?
Ji Prabhuji.
Question number 2. Did Uttara die or was she protected? So we read last time that Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj in the womb, and that what protected Uttara also. So Uttara did not die. Brahmastra was aimed at Parikshit Maharaj in the womb, and Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj as well as the Pandavas, and simultaneously Uttara was also protected. Question number 3. What is meant by twice born? So when one takes initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, then the soul is awakened. This is known as twice born. So first birth is from biological father and mother, and the second birth is from the spiritual master, the father. Nitya?
Prabhu, in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the scriptures, it is the child born by the Garbhadana Samskara and then who accepts the sacred ceremony is considered twice born for the scriptural references. But I do understand now twice born refers to initiation too. But in the Vedic scriptures, the reference was that way.
So, Garbhadan Samskar is a process to invite a Krishna conscious soul in the mother's womb, so that right from the birth you have the right child. Twice born is when you get initiated by a bona fide spiritual master.
Thanks, Prabhu.
Question number 4. Is there existence of evil, those who do black magic, etc.? So atheists are just non-believers. They are not evil. Is there a competition of supremacy between evil and believers of Shri Krishna? So evil or demoniac nature exists in the world. But in scriptures, there is no mention of black magic. So atheists can be non-believers as well as evil. So scientists are generally atheists who do not believe in God. But scientists, not all are evil. But there could be demoniac persons who are also atheist and simultaneously evil also. So everyone in the material world is placed under illusion to think that each and every one is a controller. Therefore, there is competition between everyone, not just between evil and believers of Krishna. Does that answer the inquiry?
Prabhuji, there are descriptions of Dev and Danav and something like that, like Ravan and Ram were also, was it the fight of God with evil, or?
So evil, I say demoniac. Evil I'm referring to as demoniac. Yes, demoniac exists. There's no doubt about it. So demoniac is a mentality. It's not necessarily somebody with horns and tails. It's a mentality. Demoniac is described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16 as somebody having a desire to enjoy separate of Krishna at bodily level. That is demoniac. I am demoniac.
Prabhuji, is there a fight with the God and this when in your demoniac mentality? Do we fight against God or something?
So
Or
we have this,
also whether we are influencing and hurting others?
both are correct. So we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 5.29 that Duryodhan was fighting with Krishna when Krishna was physically visible. So right now, how are we fighting with Krishna? When we try to enjoy separate of Krishna, or when we think that, oh, I am the controller, well, we are fighting with Krishna because we are trying to take up Krishna's supreme position. So we are fighting with Krishna. Okay.
No, Prabhuji, but that is just the fight between me and the Supreme. It is not that I am hurting somebody else. I am not
So you are also
evil
hurting.
or demoniac in that sense.
Do you have envy against others?
So, Prabhuji, that may be there, but I may not harm them. I may be envious for other reasons, but I'm...
So envy is also harmful, that if you are not envious against others, then you will give them prasad, then you will guide them on the path of spirituality. Prabhupada has described in chapter 13 the definition of non-violence as, if you have the ability to give spiritual knowledge to somebody, and if you don't give that spiritual knowledge to somebody, well, you are committing violence. So why you did not give spiritual knowledge to somebody is because you are envious and you say, I don't want to talk to him. Well, you are envious, you are hurting them. So what we understand as the definition of violence or non-violence is, Prabhupada has given an elevated definition in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13. So read the paragraph on non-violence. It's at the very start in chapter 13, verses 8 to 12. There's one whole paragraph where Prabhupada has described this. Okay?
Prabhuji, thank you.
Nitya?
But Prabhuji, on this point, we cannot share the spiritual knowledge with someone who's not receptive either. So
Yeah, you
it
are
also
correct. You are correct. Therefore, I said give them prasad. My first point was give them prasad. I didn't say start with telling them scriptures. I said give them prasad. So if you are neutral to everyone, you will give them prasad. But if you are envious, you will say, I do not deal with that person at all. So you are hurting them. Nitya?
so true, Prabhu.
All right. Next question, number 5, is a question for you all. So question number 5, first is a question on the question. I want all of you to read the question and state your thoughts. What do you think of the way the question is worded? I will read the question number 5 anyway. Question number 5 is, how did Uttara come to know that the arrow was being shot at her? Other Pandavas were not aware of the same. Did she have special power to sense it? We discussed this in the class, but I am not satisfied. So everybody, what are your thoughts on the question in terms of how it is worded? Somebody?
Prabhuji, maybe I was not satisfied meant that it was not understood properly.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about the content of the question. I'm saying the how it is worded. Somebody? How is the question worded? What are your thoughts? Matan Prabhu?
It's not a humble way to ask question.
Why is it not humble?
It's like a demanding or something.
Okay, very good. Rest of you? Everybody, it's very important. So understand, you all ask questions, and we have discussed this at the start of chapter 4, that we have to ask question in a humble and submissive manner. So it is very important to understand not just the content of what Arjuna has been asking, but Arjuna has taught us how to ask a question. So everybody, please tell me, what do you think of this question? Silence, I got silence. What do you think of this question? I got real silence, even after I asked everybody to unmute.
Prabhu, definitely the reference to I, me, at least we try to avoid that in our spiritual inquiries, I think.
Okay.
But I think the person was also probably not with the intent to ask in an arrogant way.
Yeah,
It
you
is
are
just the way
correct. So,
that they ask.
so Nitya, you are correct that we don't have the intent, but I am an outsider. I am reading. I don't know your mind. I am reading it without reference to your mind, and you also read it without reference to somebody else's mind. So your point is correct that none of us have this intent, but we have to develop the spiritual quality. And as part of this answer, I will also explain that our spiritual qualities are not just meant to be for this 2 hour when we meet on the weekend. No, you have to apply what you learn from spirituality in your day-to-day material world also. Shivangi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Sorry, I don't understand what is rude about the question.
Okay, so that's okay. You think it's okay, and that's all right. I will explain very soon. So park your question for a minute. Rest of you, what do you think of the question? Everybody is okay with the question?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Vijay Prabhu, go ahead.
So, what is your question? I don't understand. Can you re-explain me, please?
Yeah. So if you read this question, I will read the question again. If you read the question, is the question worded properly in a humble and submissive manner? Although I am not questioning whether the devotee's intent was not to be humble, not to be submissive. I'm not saying that. But I am looking at the question as a complete outsider, and you tell me whether the question is worded in a humble or submissive manner. So I will read the question. Question number 5. How did Uttara come to know that the arrow was being shot at her? Other Pandavas were not aware of the same. Did she have special power to sense it? We discussed this question at our last class, but I am not satisfied. So, Vijay Prabhu, now answer.
Okay, let me think about it now. Thank you, Prabhu. Because I have some hearing issues. I cannot hear clearly. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Mansi?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. As we discussed in yesterday's Bhagavad Gita class, and we heard it from the lecture, that our question should not be in demand, and it should not be like we are demanding or we are complaining.
Yeah.
So here I was not satisfied. Like it shows like a complaint.
Yeah, very good. Mansi, very good. So this Mansi was there in Bhagavad Gita class yesterday where we discussed this exact same point. Very good. Thank you, Mansi. So I have undivided attention with this question. First, the question itself. So when this statement, Mansi correctly pointed out, but I am not satisfied. When you use the word but means you are challenging. So this is a challenging way of inquiry. So I request all of you to try to dovetail this learning in your day-to-day material world communication. Instead of using the word but on a day-to-day basis, I'm not saying for spiritual. So you have to dovetail your material and spiritual life so that we have seen the drawing of Mother Jija, so that the material world wheel and the spiritual world wheel overlaps, and then it becomes a karma. So don't just stop using but in our classes. No, stop using but in your day-to-day communication. Replace the word but with and. Now, there will be a trial period for you where you will find it difficult. So if you have to use the word and instead of but, you will end up having to rewrite your sentence leading up to that point. Meaning you will have to rewrite in a positive manner to accommodate the word and instead of but in your sentence. And the other recommendation I will give you is, if you have an inquiry, so your statement, generally what we do is you write blah, 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 but I am blah, blah, not satisfied. So instead of the use of the word but, replace your day-to-day material world communication in a way to rewrite your first part of the sentence in a positive manner, and then instead of the use of the word but, you write and then your second part of the statement. Another way to write communication in the material world to avoid but is that you state the fact in first part of your statement and put a full stop. And without using the word and, without using the word but, the second part of the statement, you say, my inquiry is so and so. So the word but did not come up. So I did not change the content of my question. I'm only rewriting it in a manner that Matan Prabhu and Mansi correctly pointed out, because both of them heard this yesterday, the same conversation. So it's fresh in their mind. Thank you, both of you, for remembering what we discussed. So I want you to dovetail spiritual and material life. I will pause here For any questions, comments, realizations, and Shivangi, does that answer?
I'm not sure, Prabhuji. Sometimes you need to use like
I'm not saying 100%. Try. Majority of the time, it should be possible to rewrite your sentence in a manner. I gave you two ways. If you rewrite your sentence in a way that you can avoid using of the word but sometimes you may not have a choice. You may end up using but. I'm not saying don't use the word but ever. Just saying try as much as is possible. Shivangi?
Okay, Prabhuji. I also read the but I was not satisfied portion of the question as I'm not fully clear on the answer. So
The intent of the question, the last line, but I am not satisfied, is I need clarification. But what have we learned from Arjuna, what he taught in Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, I think it's verse number 4, where Arjuna says, so in verse number 2 and 3, Krishna said, chapter 4, verse number 2 and 3, Krishna said, I explained the Bhagavad Gita science to sun god 2 million years ago. So Arjuna did not say you are wrong. What Arjuna said was, how am I to understand this statement that you spoke Bhagavad Gita 2 million years ago to sun god? So what is Arjuna teaching us? He did not say but. He did not use the word but. Arjuna simply used the statement saying, how am I to understand? Therefore, the word of use, but I am not satisfied. Well, that is, you are saying, I disagree with what you are saying. Rather, what you are intending is, I need some clarification. Therefore, we have to word it in a humble and submissive manner. Now, the challenge is that if you try to use your communication skills one way in the material world and another way on the weekend of the spiritual, well, you will have a disconnect. Therefore, you have to dovetail. You have to avoid use of the word but in the material world also. Otherwise, what's the point of you studying scriptures? You have to apply it in the material world also. Shivangi?
okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
Nitya?
Prabhu, this is a good example for us how we work, how we dovetail both. But there are a few things I just wanted to ask. One is that humble is, I think, is the most important thing, being humble in anything we do. But it also applies to how we are looking at something. Like when I looked at the question, it didn't sound, it doesn't sound that way to me. Is that wrong? I don't see it as that somebody was questioning or disagreeing.
Yeah, so
To
you
me,
use,
it seemed okay.
yeah, let me
Yeah,
explain.
so that's also a good quality, right? That I see it as okay.
You are correct. That's a very good quality. Simultaneously, apply Shastra Chakshu. So I have explained from day one of our Bhagavad Gita study that whatever I hear, whatever I see, I apply Shastra Chakshu because I cannot trust my mind and intelligence at the initial stages of my spirituality. I have to rely on Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. So I read it from the eyes of scriptures. Nitya?
Is disagreement wrong, Prabhu?
It's not wrong. Disagreement is not wrong. It's the way you ask. There's no question of right or wrong about inquiry. That's not what the point I'm saying. All I'm saying is reword in a manner which shows that your humility and your submissiveness. This statement, but that's a challenge. I am not satisfied. That's a challenge. Although the devotee who has asked this question has no intent of challenging. What I'm saying is that we have to apply our learnings in our day-to-day material world communications also, where we try to drop the word but and try to replace it with the word and, or we try to rewrite the sentence that first part is a fact and second part is my inquiry is so and so. So content of your inquiry does not change. It's the way you ask it that changes. Nitya?
Prabhu, may I take it that I shouldn't use I again here, sorry. Submissive in the sense of submitting it humbly, rather than in the material world saying submissively. I mean, humbly and submissively, can we take it as presenting something, submitting it in a humble way, rather than saying humbly and submissively means we're not, and we've also read that don't allow people to walk over you. Do not be a tiger, don't allow people. So this thing to take to the material world that posts everything submissively and humbly, it definitely can apply to our class, to our spiritual thing. But material world, I think submitting it humbly makes more reasonable suggestion than submissively all time.
Yeah. So I said apply according to time, place, and circumstances. Start somewhere. And you will see, I have also done this, that I try to avoid the use of the word but in my day-to-day communication. So I'm not saying you stop inquiring in your material world communications. It's just the way you reword it. So in your sentence, normally we write, you said so and so, but I have so and so inquiry. You reword that sentence by saying, you stated this point, you put a full stop. There's no but, there's no end. Your next sentence is, my inquiry for your this statement is so and so. So I'm not saying don't inquire. Use positive approach even in your material world communication. Nitya?
Yes, Prabhu.
Everybody on the same page with the question before I answer the question?
Yes, Prabhu.
All right, thank you. So coming back to the question, so Brahmastra was aimed at Uttara's womb and Uttara saw this burning Brahmastra coming to her. Therefore, she ran to Krishna. And the Brahmastra split into 6 Brahmastra to take aim at Pandavas and the 5 Pandavas also. And Pandavas also picked up their weapons. We read this at the last class. So both Uttara and all Pandavas became aware of the Brahmastra. The point being made in this event is that only Krishna is the protector. Uttara ran to Krishna even when Pandavas were capable of countering the Brahmastra. That is the point of the incident. And Vijay Prabhu has also correctly pointed out in the same statement or the same verbatim of the statement that Uttara decided to get help from Krishna and surrender to Krishna for help. Does that answer the inquiry? Question number 6. Why did King Yudhishthir perform horse sacrifice when the required method of worship in Dwarpa Yuga is temple worship? I'll bring up on screen Srimad Bhagavatam 12.3.52, where it says the relevant procedures in the different yugas, that whatever result was obtained in Satyug by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifice, and in Dwarpa Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So this 12.3.52 is a bhakti process, and performing Ashwamedh Yajna is at Karma Kanda level. So the process of Ashwamedh Yajna is that the horse is set loose to roam around anywhere, and whichever territory the horse roams into, the king of that territory either surrenders his territory to Yudhishthir or fights Yudhishthir's army. So such seeming karmakanda act by a pure devotee like Yudhishthir is actually for the benefit of all citizens of the world, because that's what Krishna wanted. Therefore, Yudhishthir performed the Ashwamedh Yajna under the guidance of Krishna, because Krishna wanted his pure devotee to rule the entire world for the benefit of all citizens of the world. Does that answer the inquiry? All right, I got this silence. Okay. Question number 7 and 8 we'll discuss together. It's about Varnashram. That why do Vedic scriptures place emphasis on divisions of society when the focus should be that all living beings are the same at soul level and intelligence is external? So this is question number 7, and question number 8 says, what is Varna and Ashram? How can we understand it scientifically? So at yesterday's class in batch 6 and 7, we did discuss the same point. So the devotee who, at least one of the devotee who asked this question was also present at the batch 6 and 7, but I will briefly describe. So the 4 Varnas of the society created by Krishna for material duties are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. These are not based on caste or designation, but these are based on guna and karma. So first understand the purpose of Varnashram. And the 4 ashrams are Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. To understand the purpose of Varnashram. Varnashram provides a social structure for spiritual advancement. How? For most, spiritual advancement means I have to purify myself, and mostly it is an individual struggle. So if the individual struggle is supported by a social structure, I misspoke this same sentence yesterday and today also, therefore I will repeat. So if the individual struggle is supported by a social structure, then the struggle becomes lesser. An example is if a student wants to become a doctor, but there is no social structure, there's no college, no professor, well, that will become very difficult for the student to just simply read the books to become a doctor. This is an individual struggle. But if there is a social structure of a university to become a doctor, it becomes comparatively easier. So Varna provides for one's material needs according to one's psychophysical nature in the least uncomplicated manner and the most harmonious way to spirituality. So based on your characteristics and abilities, you are characterized as Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, and scriptures provide duties for each of the Varna in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 verses 42, 43 and 44. Therefore, there is no guesswork. So the question says, why is there emphasis on these Varna divisions? Well, there is no guesswork because you are following according to scriptures. Similarly, ashram provides time-wise progression in one's spiritual commitment. So initial stages of life is brahmachari. The brahmachari goes to Gurukul ashram, stays there and practices spirituality up to the age of 25. Then he becomes a grahastha, and even with family, he is not attached to family at bodily level. He continues to be committed to spirituality because he has already learned the spiritual topics while he was brahmachari. Then from after age 50, he takes up vanaprastha, where one focuses more on spirituality, and then later part is sannyas, where one mainly focuses on spirituality. So this perfect example of ashram, the proper use of ashram, for those of you who are here in Toronto area, is our dear Dwarkanath Prabhu. And next time you meet Dwarkanath Prabhu, explain this to him, that how he is a living example for all of us, that he was a brahmachari, lived in the temple ashram. He continued to study scriptures, do devotional service. Then he got married just in the last few months. But he's continuing to do the same devotional service. He's not entangled in the material world. That's a live example of how ashram provides time-wise progression for our spiritual advancement. Does that answer the inquiry, Nitya?
Thank you, Prabhu. Does it though glorify the brahmanas more than any other caste in the scriptures, and that has led to how in the current society and in the decades that followed, in the yugas that followed and centuries, people have misinterpreted giving the brahmanical brahmanas more thing in the society. Because and also the reference to less intelligent many times.
Yeah, it is not about giving brahmana higher status. That is incorrect. That is misuse of power of those who are in brahmanical, born in brahmanical family. But that's not what Krishna has designed. Krishna has designed the four divisions as equal. There's no distinction between brahmana, vaishya, kshatriya, and shudra. It's based on guna and karma. And we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 verses 40, around verse 46, where this discussion about Daivi Varnashram, we discussed that what Krishna has designed and described the Varnashram system is Daivi, that if Brahmana does his duties properly, he will get purified and go back home to Godhead. And similarly, Shudra, if he does his duties properly, he will also get purified and go back home to Godhead from the Shudra body. Versus in Vedic times, or the other, it shouldn't be Vedic times, but the other way of Varnashram is that Shudra lives life properly according to Shudra, then gradually he becomes a Vaishya, then he lives a life properly as Vaishya, then he becomes a Kshatriya, and then he becomes a Brahmana and then gets purified. That's not what Krishna is describing here. Krishna is describing Varnashram as Daivi Varnashram, where everyone is equal. Varnashram is meant for cooperation. The Varnashram that exists right now in India is demoniac. That is not what Krishna has designed. It is just because of contamination and people wanting control for themselves and wanting to abuse their position is why they are saying, oh, we are Brahmanas, we are higher, and not you all. Nitya?
Prabhu, thank you, Prabhu. One follow-up, if I might ask, in the Puranas, and we're reading excerpts from the Mahabharata, we continue to the references to the less intelligent. So that's another thing about the reference to less intelligent. So it is because it's the Puranas that this reference comes repeatedly, less intelligent people.
We have discussed this point in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 around verse 32, where Krishna says even less intelligent women, Shudras, can also get purified from following the bhakti process. So what is less intelligent is referred to as that if you ask Shudra to live a life like a Brahmana, it will be a torture for him. So those who are not inclined by default to follow the Vedic scriptures, and they are more inclined on enjoying at bodily level, that's the less intelligent part reference is about. Not that their intelligence is somewhat less. Nitya?
Thank you, Prabhu, for clarifying.
Everybody on the same page with this question number 7 and 8?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, may I ask something?
Yeah.
Prabhuji, we said that they can attain Godhead by doing their duty properly. So the non-Brahmins are not supposed to do scriptures, read scriptures, and like if Shudra is, if it's his or her duty is to clean the society physically, then if they do that.
There is no restriction to read or not read scriptures, but the point being made is that Shudra, if you ask them to live a life of Brahmana, where the Brahmana wakes up before Brahma Muhurta period, does chanting, and the Shudra will go, well, this is crazy, he will run away. Yeah. That's the point being made. There's no restriction on reading or not reading scriptures.
So Prabhuji, so they don't need to be prayerful. They just need to do. Did I understand that you mentioned that if they do their duty properly? But when you talk about duty here, it is the work as per their ashram. It has got nothing to connect with the God, right? Or did I not understand?
Yeah. Let me clarify. So you're correct that they will do their duty, and we have explained that bhakti process is so potent that the Shudra, so somebody in Shudra body who has all these anarthas, he will drop the anarthas and he will continue his varnik duties. So Shudra, to get elevated and purified and to go back home to Godhead by doing his duty, is for him to drop his anarthas. Before the bhakti process, the Shudra has a varna of Shudra. He is doing some material task. Simultaneously, the Shudra also has anarthas. By following the bhakti process, he drops his anarthas, means his anarthas are purified. Simultaneously, he continues his varnik duties of whatever was there from before. He doesn't drop that. He just does it properly as a service to Krishna. He dovetails his varnik duties as service. That's how he gets purified. So it's not that just by the varnik duty alone he gets purified. No, he adds bhakti in his varnik duty. That's how he gets purified. Pragya?
Ji Prabhuji, so connection with the God, even while you're performing your duty as per your varna, is the most important thing.
Absolutely correct. So we have discussed this in Varnashram discussion 4.13, Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna said that in 4.10 he says, Man Maya Mamupashrita, that everybody should surrender to me. But not everybody is surrendering to Krishna. So therefore Krishna has designed the Varnashram system, because somebody goes to demigod instead of surrendering to Krishna. So how will demigod worshippers get promoted? Is through the Varnashram system, that they regulate their life and simultaneously they add bhakti, mean the worship of the Lord. That bhakti addition is going to help them give up the lower taste of enjoying at bodily level by developing the higher taste. Pragya?
Thank you.
Okay, very good follow-up inquiries. Thank you. Okay, similarly, we'll discuss question number 9 and 10 together. They are linked question. Question number 9 is, what should a woman do to maintain the varna and ashram? And question number 10 says, please explain the term chaste lady and why insulting them will reduce one's lifespan. So chaste wife means wife is faithful to the husband. We'll soon read Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 23, verse number 1, that Parvati, the wife of Shiva, she was a princess. Still, Parvati took shabby-looking Shiva as husband and served Shiva faithfully. Similarly, Devahuti was a princess. Still, Devahuti took a mendicant Kardama Muni as husband and served Kardama Muni faithfully. So let's read, I'll bring up on screen 3.23.1. Prerna, can you read from the screen the translation and purport? Faster pace, please. Prerna? Priyanka?
Hare Krishna. Maitreya continued, after the departure of her parents, the chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love, as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. Purport. The specific example of Bhavani is very significant. Bhavani means the wife of Bhava or Lord Shiva. Bhavani or Parvati, the daughter of the king of the Himalayas, selected Lord Shiva, who appears to be just like a beggar, as her husband. In spite of her being a princess, she undertook all kinds of tribulations to associate with Lord Shiva, who did not even have a house, but was sitting underneath the trees and passing his time in meditation. Although Bhavani was a daughter of a very great king, she used to serve Lord Shiva just like a poor woman. Similarly, Devahuti was a daughter of an emperor, Swayambhuva Manu, yet she preferred to accept Kardama Muni as her husband. She served him with great love and affection, and she knew how to please him. Therefore, she is designated here as Sadhvi, which means a chaste, faithful wife. A rare example is the ideal of Vedic civilization. Every woman is expected to be as good and chaste as Devahuti or Bhavani. Today, in Hindu society, unmarried girls are still taught to worship Lord Shiva with the idea that they may get husbands like him. Lord Shiva is the ideal husband, not in the sense of riches or sense gratification, but because he is the greatest of all devotees. Vaishnava? Prabhuji, sorry, I can't really see that properly.
Skip.
Yatha Shambhu. Shambhu or Lord Shiva is the ideal Vaishnava. He constantly meditates upon Lord Rama and he chants Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Shiva has a Vaishnava Sampradaya, which is called as Vishnu Swami Sampradaya. Unmarried girls worship Lord Shiva so that they can expect a husband who is as good a Vaishnava as he. The girls are not taught to select a husband who is very rich or very opulent for material sense gratification. Rather, if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband as good as Lord Shiva in devotional service, then her life becomes perfect. The wife is dependent on the husband, and if the husband is a Vaishnava, then naturally she shares the devotional service of the husband because she renders him service. This reciprocation of service and love between the husband and wife is the ideal of a householder's life. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, very good. So the inquiry talked about how the woman should live. So next set of verses. So in Canto 3, chapter 23, verses 2 to 5 further explain this point, and in the purport there is significant detail of how a wife should live in the current world. So right now we'll only read the translations for 2 to 5, and you can read the purport later point. I will explain some points from the purports. Shivangi, verses 2 to 5 translations from screen.
Hare Krishna, the daughter of
I'm sorry, my mistake.
Hare Krishna, the daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him
2
as
to 5 from 2.
Oh, sorry. O Vidura, Devahuti served her husband with intimacy and great respect, with control of the senses, with love, and with sweet words. Working sanely and diligently, she pleased her very powerful husband, giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. The daughter of Manu, who was fully devoted to her husband, looked upon him as greater even than Providence. Thus she expected great blessings from him. Having served him for a long time, she grew weak and emaciated due to her religious observances. Seeing her condition, Kadama, the foremost of celestial sages, was overcome with compassion and spoke to her in a voice choked with great love.
Okay. So for this question number 9, that how should a woman or what should a woman do to maintain the Varna and Ashram? So we read the verses that how a wife should serve the husband. Now in current times, Varnas are not clearly identifiable. These verses, Canto 3, Chapter 23, verses 2 to 5, describe how a wife should deal with her husband. We read the translation and some good points. There are a lot of good points in these purports. Read them later by yourself. Some points I will highlight right now, that wife must render service to husband just like an intimate friend. Wife must understand that husband is superior in position. Thus, wife must offer all respects. Even if there is some wrong on the part of the husband, wife must tolerate. Thus, there will be no misunderstanding between husband and wife. Wife must not call the husband by name. Now, this statement, you'll be surprised to hear. A couple months back, one devotee at the Toronto temple, I was having a conversation with the Vaishnavi, and she was saying, well, you know me and my husband and my daughter, we come out on book distribution. I said, yeah, I know, but I don't know by name. So I said, what's your husband's name? And she said this statement, oh, I cannot take my husband's name at all. So devotees are living according to scriptures. She quoted this exact same line, which is there in the purport of the verses we just read. So it is possible to live according to scriptures, at least to a certain extent. I wouldn't say 100%, but at least to a certain extent. And it's a devotee here from Toronto temple. Another point is wife has to learn to control herself, even if there is misunderstanding. Wife should always desire good for the husband and speak to him in sweet words, because man is agitated by so many material contacts in outside world. Although wife may be equal to husband in spiritual advancement, still the wife should not be proud at all. Wife must not be proud even of her parental position. Rather, wife must always be submissive to the husband, because pride creates great misunderstanding. Wife should be chaste and faithful. Wife is expected to be of the same category as husband. So if husband is a devotee and wife is a materialistic person or vice versa, there cannot be any peace at home. And the example is Gandhari, that Gandhari decided to act blind like the husband. Otherwise, Gandhari would have become proud of her eyes and would have treated her husband Dhritarashtra as inferior. Does those points answer these inquiries?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, this is a deep inquiry. Prabhu, I definitely would have follow-up. I will probably post you. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Question number 11. We still have a lot of questions to answer. I will try my best to complete this quickly. Question number 11. Protection of women can produce good generation. Mother Gandhari was a chaste lady, but why her sons were fallen? So we just discussed in the previous question that yes, Gandhari was definitely a chaste wife, and association and offenses are the reason for fall down. So association is very important factor. Duryodhan and Dusashan had the bad association of Shakuni. Of course, Duryodhan was also an Amsha of Kali. And similarly, Karn is a son of sun god and Kunti. Both sun god and Kunti are elevated personalities. But because of bad association of Duryodhan and company, Karn also became contaminated Otherwise, the qualities that Kern was born with were very, very good qualities. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, verses 21 to 27, Lord Kapila states that offenses are the obstacles on the path of bhakti. So it's association and offenses that causes someone to fall down. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Shivangi?
Prabhuji, can you clarify what is meant when you said Duryodhana is an Amsha of Kali?
Yeah, so he was a part of Kali to jumpstart the Kali Yuga. So he had the characteristics overlapped him from the characteristics of Kali, the Kali personality. So therefore he is known as the Amsha or the part of Kali.
So I don't understand how Kali is a person. So is it a jiva, like another conditioned soul?
So there's a personality Kali. So this will come up in Canto 1, Chapter 17 and 18, where the personality of Kali is trying to enforce the Kali Yuga power, but is not able to enforce because of the presence of Parikshit Maharaj. So there's a personality also that represents Kali or Kali Yuga.
But is it like a posting, Prabhuji? Like how you had mentioned Brahmaji's post is like a posting.
So there is no description in scriptures mentioning about this as a post, but it should be a post because the Kali Yuga continues cycle after cycle after cycle. So even though there is not a direct mention, it should be a post as well.
Okay, so could it mean that the person may actually be a devotee, but they just accept to play the role of Kali or?
So everybody is a devotee. Everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. Everything is a leela of Krishna, right? So.
Okay, Prabhuji, thank you.
All right. Very good inquiries. Thank you for hearing with rapt attention. Question number 12. How can we surrender to Lord practically in the current time? So except for devotees from path 6 and 7, rest of you have heard Chitran Chanda's lecture extract on what exactly is surrender. So I'm going to play that Chitran Chanda's lecture right now. It's a 5-minute lecture extract. Let me find it. And will be crystal clear that what exactly is surrender. So let's hear, take notes. It's only 5-minute lecture, but it has bang to the point, lot of points on how you can surrender to the Lord in a practical manner in our current time. Let's hear.
Now, we may wonder what exactly is surrender. How do we surrender? We'll discuss about surrender more in the 18th chapter when we talk about Sarvadharman Pratijamamekam Sharanam Vraja. But here suffice it to say that surrender is not passive. Surrender is active. The Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks this in the scriptures about 6 elements of surrender. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam. Rakshishyati te vishwasa, goktritve varanam tatha, atmanikshep karpanye, shadavidha sharanagatihi. So he says that actually anukulyasya sankalpa and pratikulyasya varjanam, accepting that which is favorable and rejecting that which is unfavorable, that is surrender. Accepting that which is favorable and rejecting that which is unfavorable. So what does this involve? It involves choice, constant, conscientious choice. So that means how do I surrender to Krishna? Surrender doesn't mean we have the quintessential example of surrender, Draupadi surrendering to Krishna. Krishna, help! raising her hands and surrender. Yes, that is one way of surrendering. But that is not just the only way of surrendering. Even when Arjuna is fighting on the battlefield with his full intelligence, full determination, shooting the arrows, that is also surrender. It is not that just Draupadi is raising her hands as surrender. Arjuna is shooting arrows intelligently and fiercely, ferociously. That is also surrender. How is that? Because surrender essentially means choosing the actions that take us towards Krishna and rejecting the actions that take us away from Krishna. So, for Draupadi, in that particular situation, when she was being dishonored, she tried her best. She tried to hold on to her sari and she tried to defend her honor. But when that didn't work, then what did she do? She surrendered to Krishna. So that is important. Now we see that Arjuna also surrenders to Krishna at the start of the Bhagavad Gita when he says that Pruchhami tvam dharma sammudha chetaha. I asked you what I should do. So he is not necessarily raising up his hands to surrender, but he's folding his hands and asking Krishna for knowledge. But then when Arjuna starts shooting arrows, he's acting on Krishna's instructions, and that acting out on Krishna's instructions is also surrender. So to understand about surrender, let's look at from the broad perspective, what is the basic principle of spiritual life? The basic principle of spiritual life is harmonizing our will with the divine will, with Krishna's will. So that harmonization can be sometimes be through activity and sometimes through outer inactivity, but inner deference to Krishna's will, inner surrender to Krishna's will. So that will vary how it will be externally expressed. So essentially surrender means giving up our will for accepting Krishna's will. Now how we will accept Krishna's will vary from time, place and circumstance. So that we cannot know in advance. Therefore what is important is we always be thinking what is anukul, what is pratikul. So that means when we do our sadhana diligently, through our sadhana also we are surrendering to Krishna. That means when we do our seva diligently, through that also we are surrendering to Krishna. So when we know that certain situations are going to tempt us, moving away from those situations, that is also surrender to Krishna. When we feel our senses getting agitated and we reject that agitation, we crush that agitation with determination, that is also surrender to Krishna. Surrender can come in many forms. Essentially for us, what we should focus on is anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjana. Whatever is favorable accept, what is unfavorable reject. So much of what comprises surrender will be within the mind. Now within the mind, if we entertain thoughts that take us away from Krishna, if we fuel desires that take us away from Krishna, then we are not surrendering, we are actually rebelling against Krishna. We may not have any direct intention to rebel against Krishna, but essentially the result will be that we will be rebelling against Krishna. On the other hand, when we turn towards Krishna and surrender, that means we choose the thoughts and the desires that will take us closer to Krishna.
And further, Srila Prabhupada has also said in a lecture that if you only honor prasadam, that is also a form of surrender. Okay, what all points he explained quickly?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji explained that the surrender is not passive, it's an active. So there are 6 elements of surrender which he explained by the shlokas. So first one was the accepting the favorable and the rejecting which is unfavorable. That involves the choice, whichever action which keeps away from Krishna, we should reject that, and whichever action which keeps us closer to Krishna, that we should accept that particular action.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the verse that he explained, Anukulyasya Sankalpa Patikulyasya Varjanam, the 6 items, it's known as the Sharanagati verse. There in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 66 purport. Okay, very good. Does that answer the inquiry?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, question number 13 is a question for you all. So I want all of you to read question number 13 and tell me what have we discussed earlier on how to word a question. Everybody quickly, we are a little behind. Somebody?
Prabhu, we do not have to give the context and the history and the reference. We just have to post the question.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Correct point. So I have crossed out the first part of the question number 13, which is a background information. We don't need that. We have discussed this at the start of our Bhagavad Gita. Is question important? Is answer important? Well, we said yes, both are important. Then how do you decide how much time to spend on the question and how much time on the answer? So we should spend more time on the answer to hear what Krishna is telling us. So this, what I have crossed out is background information. We don't need. Just ask the question in 16 words or less, that how Arjuna has taught us. So there are multiple questions in question number 13. The rest of the part which I have not crossed out is relevant and the appropriate way to ask the question. So question number 13, I will read. How did Uttara realize she was the target of the weapon? How much time does it take for Brahmastra to hit its target? Did it delay long enough for her to reach Krishna for help? How were the Pandavas ultimately protected? And how did Ashwatthama escape after unleashing the Brahmastra for the second time? So if you try to understand spirituality, Krishna's pastimes, using logic, you are going to hit a wall. I think it is in Puri or someplace, should be Puri, where the flag on top of the temple flies in opposite direction of the way wind is blowing. How can you make sense of this? This signifies that Krishna is above every material laws as well. So we will discuss in Sri Upanishad that Krishna's qualities, pastimes are inconceivable. Inconceivable does not mean we cannot understand him at all. By logic, we cannot understand absolute truth. Does not mean absolute truth is illogical. Rather, absolute truth is beyond anything material, and logic is also material. So except for batch 6 and 7 devotees, we have also discussed in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17 that we should follow scriptures because scriptures are like lighthouse, that a boat uses a lighthouse to arrive safely to the shore, and that these 4 items of mood, fashion, tradition, and logic may seem like lighthouses, but mood, fashion, tradition, logic themselves keep moving. Therefore, they are also unreliable. So coming back to the question, that this is actually Krishna's arrangement to show that how to be always dependent on Krishna. So Krishna was just outside, about to leave, and Uttara, who was inside, saw this burning Brahmastra coming at her. Therefore, Uttara just came running outside to Krishna. So Brahmastra can actually fly like a bullet. But this is Krishna's arrangement that Uttara could come rushing outside. And seeing that there was no time for Pandavas to counter the Brahmastra, hence Krishna broke his vow to not pick up weapons, and Krishna therefore picked up his Sudarshan Chakra to counter the 6 Brahmastra, 1 for Parikshit and 5 for the Pandavas. So as we discussed that Ashwatthama's this second Brahmastra split into 6, and Krishna countered all Brahmastra at once. And the last part about escaping, so Ashwatthama was just outside the camp from where he released the second Brahmastra, and Ashwatthama did not have any means to run away. Therefore, he was just punished again. Does that answer all the inquiries?
Hare Krishna, yes, Prabhu, thank you.
All right. Striking points, you have 4 slides. Slide number 1. Slide number 2. Slide number 3. And slide number 4. Questions, comments, realizations before we discuss Bhagavatam? We spent a lot of time on inquiries. Very good inquiries. Thank you for all your inquiries. Okay, so we'll start with Divya has a question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I should have asked this earlier, but it just came to me. So the chaste lady lifestyle is kind of like a tapasya for women, right?
Absolutely correct. So in the verses that we brought up for Devahuti, it actually describes the same point, that it's a tapasya, it's an austerity for the wife. So understand the result that Devahuti attained. So Kardama Muni attained perfection by his spiritual endeavor. And because Devahuti served Kardama Muni to perfection, Kardama Muni gave that perfection, that blessing, that phala to Devahuti, and because of which Devahuti also attained perfection. That understand from the result perspective. Divya? Okay. So from your spiritual endeavor homework questions, we'll only focus on the homework question where you have to search on Vedabase the 1.8.22 verse. What did you all find? Everybody quickly, we are a little behind. I want to cover some verses. Priyanka?
Prabhuji, the exact same verse is repeated in the 10th canto as verse 26 in the 59th chapter, and a similar verse comes in the 4th canto, but the word instead of Pankaja, it's stated as Kamala.
Okay, very good. What did you read from the verses that you found?
From 10.59.26, it ties back to the 1.8.22, where Srila Prabhupada explains that the same prayer is offered by Queen Kunti, but I couldn't really read the 4th canto verse properly.
Okay, very good. So when you search the 1.8.22, either of the line 2, 3, 4, you'll find an identical. So you have it on screen, 1.8.22 and 10.59.26. It's identical verse. And Prabhupada explains in the purport for 10.59.26 that actually the prayer by Bhumi Devi or Earth in 10.59.26 happened before Kunti Maharani said in 1.8.22. But because Canto 1 is kind of a little background setting, therefore the verse 1.8.22 comes first. But actually speaking, the verse 10.59.26 happened first. And similarly, there is this verse from Pracheta's prayers, which also I have on screen. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.30.25, that the word Kamala is there. Otherwise, it's almost identical prayer. So 1.8.22 say Nama Pankaja Nabhai, and 4.30.25 says Nama Kamala Nabhai. So it's almost identical. The Prachetas are saying these prayers in Canto 4. Everybody on the same page? Everybody enjoyed the exercise?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Priyanka, that was very good endeavor by yours. And others might have also done. So there are 4 verses in Srimad Bhagavatam that are identically repeated like this, like 1.8.22 and 10.59.26. All right, any questions, comments, realizations? Okay, so we will leave rest of your inquiries. We only have about 30 more minutes left. I want to cover some of the verses from Kunti Maharani's prayers from verse number 23 onwards, where we have to discuss. So a recap of where we are in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, is that upon punishment and removal from the camp, Ashwatthama became angry and again released second Brahmastra. And Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj as well as the Pandavas. And after seeing how Krishna protected Parikshit Maharaj and Pandavas, then Kunti Maharani started offering prayers to Krishna. So these Queen Kunti's prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam are the first set of full prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam. And these are very significant prayers because they are at pure devotional service level. And rest of Srimad Bhagavatam is prayers after prayers after prayers after prayers after prayers. It's just that Kunti Maharani's prayers is the first set of prayers. Of course, some chapters do set a little background. So Kunti Maharani shows her level of high devotion or level of pure devotion in the prayers that she is reciting. So these prayers, why they are important? These prayers can, or these prayers will, or at least these prayers should increase your commitment to Krishna consciousness. After reading and discussing all these prayers, the Kunti Maharani's prayers, try to see for yourself what is happening to you and realize and make changes. These prayers are very transformational prayers. So in verse number 23 and 24, Queen Kunti is remembering the favors of Krishna. Okay, let's read Dhara, verse 23 translation.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu. O Rishikesh, master of the senses and lord of lords, you have realized your mother, Devaki, who was long imprisoned and distressed by the envious King Kamsa, and me and my children from a series of constant dangers. Hare Krishna.
So Queen Kunti was shown far more favor by Krishna as compared to Krishna's mother, Mother Devaki, because Queen Kunti was alone while Mother Devaki's husband Vasudev was there. We'll read the purport also at a faster pace. Dhara.
Purport. Devaki, the mother of Krishna and sister of King Kamsa, was put into prison along with her husband Vasudev because the envious king was afraid of being killed by Devaki's 8th son Krishna. He killed all the sons of Devaki who were born before Krishna, but Krishna escaped the danger of child slaughter because he was transferred to the house of Nanda Maharaj, Lord Krishna's foster father. Kunti Devi, along with her children, was also saved from a series of dangers. But Kunti Devi was shown far more favor because Lord Krishna did not save the other children of Devaki, whereas he saved the children of Kunti Devi. This was done because Devaki's husband Vasudev was living, whereas Kunti Devi was a widow and there was none to help her except Krishna. The conclusion is that Krishna endows more favor to a devotee who is in great dangers. Sometimes he puts his pure devotees in such dangers because in that condition of helplessness, the devotee becomes more attached to the Lord. The more the attachment is there for the Lord, the more success is there for the devotee. Hare Krishna.
Questions, comments, realizations? Okay. So verse number 24 has a laundry list of troubles that Kunti Maharani and the Pandavas went through. Nitya, 24 translation and purport also faster pace.
Yes, Prabhu. Text 24. My dear Krishna, your lordship has protected us from a poison cake, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. Purport. The list of dangerous encounters is submitted herein. Devaki was once put into difficulty by her envious brother, otherwise she was well. But Kunti Devi and her sons were put into one difficulty after another for years and years together. They were put into trouble by Duryodhana and his party due to the kingdom, and each and every time the sons of Kunti were saved by the Lord. Once Bhishma was administered poison in a cake. Once they were put into the house made of shellac and set fire, and once Draupadi was dragged out and attempts were made to insult her by stripping her naked in the vicious assembly of the Kurus. The Lord saved Draupadi by supplying the immeasurable length of cloth, and Duryodhana's party failed to see her naked. Similarly, when they were exiled in the forest, Bhima had to fight with the man-eater demon Hidimba Rakshasa, but the Lord saved him. So it was not finished there. All these tribulations, there was the great battle of Kurukshetra, and Arjuna had to meet such great generals as Drona, Bhishma, Karna, all other powerful fighters. And at last, even when everything was done away with, there was the Brahmastra, released by the son of Dronacharya to kill the child within the womb of Putra. And so the Lord saved the only surviving descendant of the Kurus, Maharaja Parikshit.
So the laundry list of troubles that Kunti Maharani has listed, and the next prayer, 1.8.25, is the height of Kunti Maharani's pure devotional level. 1.8.25 is obviously a key memorization verse, and where Kunti Maharani says that all these dangers that she listed in the previous verses, she says all these dangers are actually blessings to me. Now, at least for me, it's very difficult to follow what Kunti Maharani is doing here. So let's understand and let's see what we can apply and what we can transform. Would you all like to recite 1.8.25 in Sanskrit?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, I will recite first. 1.8.25 Vipada Shantu Tat Sashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Bhavato Darshanam Yatsyaya Apunar Bhava Darshanam. Unmute yourself and recite one line after me, please. Vipada Shantu Tat Sashvat
Vipada Shantu Tat Shaswat
Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru
Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru
Bhavato Darshanam Yatsyaya
Bhavato Darshanam Yatyaya
Apuna Bhava Darshanam.
Apurna Bhava Darshanam.
Zizel, translation. And when you read the translation, tell me if you get goosebumps either for a positive sense or a negative sense. All of you. And read this in a dramatic fashion.
I wish that all these calamities would happen again and again so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we will no longer see repeated birth and deaths. Hare Krishna.
Let those calamities happen again and again. It's very difficult to understand this because Kunti Maharani is at pure devotional level. So, what is Vipada? Vipada means danger. The moment I forget Krishna, that is danger. That is Vipada. So, when I am in the midst of material opulences, I think I am happy. But afterwards, it is going to bring misery. But when we are in association of Krishna, even if we are in some so-called danger, that will still bring happiness. Therefore, Kunti says, let those calamities happen again and again. Because those calamities will make me remember you, Krishna, more and more. And by remembering you, Krishna, again and again, we will not come back to any of these material worlds. We'll read verse number 25 purport also. And as we read, try to identify what principles to learn from the calamities of material world. Plus, by reading these prayers of Queen Kunti, how is it going to help me? So that's our goal. By default, reaction when miseries happen is, why is this happening to me? But we have to transform, and that's what Kunti Maharani's prayers are going to explain to us. We may start at least by theoretical manner and then at a practical level. But let's read. Zizel, faster pace, purport.
Yes. Generally, the distressed, the needy, the intelligent, and the inquisitive who have performed some pious activities worship or begin to worship the Lord. Others who are thriving on misdeeds only, regardless of status, cannot approach the Supreme due to being misled by illusory energy. Therefore, for a pious person, if there is some calamity, there is no other alternative than to take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord. Constantly remembering the lotus feet of the Lord means preparing for liberation from birth and death. Therefore, even though they are so called calamities, they are welcome because they give us an opportunity to remember the Lord, which means liberation. One who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord, which are accepted as the most suitable boat for crossing the ocean of nescience, can achieve liberation as easily as one leaps over the holes made by the hoofs of a calf. Such persons are meant to reside in the abode of the Lord, and they have nothing to do with the place where there is danger in every step. This material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities. Less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities while knowing that the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. They have no information of the abode of the Lord, which is full of bliss and without trace of calamity. The duty of the sane person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by worldly calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritual realization because that is the mission of human life. The spirit soul is transcendental to all material calamities, therefore, the so called calamities are called false. A man may see a tiger swallowing him in a dream, and he may cry for this calamity. Actually, there is no tiger and there is no suffering. It is simply a case of dreams. In the same way, all calamities of life are said to be dreams. If someone is lucky enough to get in contact with the Lord by devotional service, it is all gain. Contact with the Lord by any one of the 9 devotional services is always a forward step on the path going back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
So tiger example is given that in my dream I am seeing tiger is swallowing me, but there is no tiger, it is just a dream. Similarly, the calamities of material world are just as a dream. So what are the principles? Material existence is illusory. We just read and discussed the tiger example. Therefore, we don't have to be disheartened. Calamities will always be there in the material world. Now understand that what has happened to Kunti Maharani and the Pandavas by all these difficulties. Can anybody think of or discuss what happened to Kunti Maharani and Pandavas because of all these miseries? I mean, each misery, if it happened, one of them to any one of us, we will run away. And to them, it happened so many of them. So somebody can think of what happened to Kunti Maharani and Pandavas? Somebody?
Babaji, their devotion only got stronger and the trust also became stronger.
Okay, very good. They became strong devotees. Yeah, Priyanka?
Babaji, the same point, they got very close to Krishna and their devotion increased multifold.
Yeah, their devotion increased. Exactly. They came close to Krishna. They were surrendering more and more to Krishna. So devotees take every opportunity to come closer to Krishna. So if you ask Krishna to remove the difficulties, then Krishna says, well, simultaneously, I will remove myself also. In one of Srimad Bhagavatam lecture for 1.8.24 and 25, Srila Prabhupada says, Draupadi is incarnation of goddess of fortune. So Arjuna had Krishna as their friend. Still, there were so many difficulties, meaning material world is full of difficulties. The instruction is that because Krishna is protecting you, you cannot expect that you will be out of danger. So long you are in a sea, in an ocean, you are in a dangerous position. Your business is to cross over the ocean with this human body. So question is, how Kunti Maharani's prayers have increased my dependence on Krishna? So my default reaction, I don't know about you, I will pause for you all to also explain, but my default reaction has been so far, when some problem happens, which happens generally very frequently, that why is this problem happening to me? But now after reading Kunti Maharani's prayers, at least I think of Kunti Maharani's prayers, nothing else. I am only thinking of this Kunti Maharani's prayers, that how Kunti Maharani used the difficulties to remember Krishna more and more and to surrender to Krishna more and more. By no means I am surrendered to Krishna. All I am trying to do is I am trying to use the difficulties to remember Krishna through Kunti's prayers. Again, my statement is very important. I'm not trying to remember Krishna directly. I am trying to remember Krishna through Kunti Maharani's prayers. That what is the level of devotion of Kunti Maharani, that the laundry list of miseries that Kunti Maharani and Pandavas went through, she is still saying, let those calamities happen again and again. So I only try to remember Krishna's devotee, because when you remember Krishna's devotee and when you remember Krishna's devotee's prayers, Krishna is pleased. Therefore, I gave you the homework of 1.8.22 to look up. So what was Kunti Maharani also doing? Kunti Maharani was also reciting the prayers of Bhumi Devi, because that was pleasing for Krishna. Everybody on the same page? I will pause here for any questions, comments, realizations.
may I ask a question?
Yeah, Pragya, go ahead.
Prabhuji, I did not understand from the purport when we read that all calamities are dreams. If somebody is lucky enough to get in contact with Lord by devotional service, it's all gain. So these two sentences appear to be disconnected unless we are saying that if I am afraid, I run to Krishna for help, or I do service so that trouble does not come to me. Are there two different things?
So
Or
we discussed that troubles are always going to be there. Whether or not you are surrendered to Krishna, troubles are always going to be there. Your thought process for the troubles will change. That's what Kunti Maharani is teaching us. That I use the miseries of material world to remember Krishna. And why it says it's a dream is because everything in the material world is temporary.
so the
Pragya?
troubles are not. So the troubles, Prabhuji, are not troubles actually.
The troubles are there, but because they are temporary, they will come and go like winter and summer. So Pragya, you want to read Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse number 14? Translation.
Bhagavad Gita
chapter 2, verse number 14. It's a very important verse. Matra sparsha is to Kaunteya. Sitoshna sukha dukkata. Agama agap apaina anityas tam titikshwa bharata.
Prabhuji, is it about, O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed.
Does that answer your inquiry?
Ji Prabhuji, it does.
Everybody on the same page? Questions, comments, realizations? What are your thought process? What will you do from this point on for miseries? What are the principles that you are planning to apply from Kunti Maharani's learnings? Vijay Prabhu?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Recently, remember one person come under my car tires. I told you I was so much in distress, like crazy. For a couple of days, too much distress. Then I was what I should do. Finally, I remember the slok you just told me, Sitoshna Sukha Dukha. It helps me. Later on, I also read the entire Ramayana for the for the 4 weeks. I feel so much comfortable, you don't have idea. My mind totally become relaxed, actually, by reading the glories of Krishna. It really helps me, Prabhu.
Yeah, very good. So what Vijay Prabhu is teaching us, so Vijay Prabhu is an elevated devotee. Vijay Prabhu is a Vrajvasi. Still, Vijay Prabhu had this material world misery that somehow some beggar was lying on a road and Vijay Prabhu was driving, and somehow Vijay Prabhu ended up driving on top of his leg or hand or someplace. Now that became kind of an accident kind of thing, and he had to had some misery. So what Vijay Prabhu did of taking shelter of Krishna through Krishna's instructions, Arjuna is going to teach us very, very soon in Canto 1. It's coming up very, very soon that when Krishna departed from this world, means from our vision, and Arjuna was in such a miserable state, to pacify himself, Arjuna simply remembered the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, and that's how he got pacified. And that exactly what Vijay Prabhu is showing us live. That's exactly what Vijay Prabhu did, that he read some of the verses and other parts of the scriptures to pacify himself. The point is, miseries are always going to be there. And what we are discussing is exactly what Vijay Prabhu also did. That misery was happened. I'm not asking any one of you to wake up and say, today I want miseries. No, don't go looking for miseries. We don't have to go looking for miseries. We have to go look for services. But when miseries happen by themselves, just as it happened for Vijay Prabhu, we use the miseries to remember, at least remember Kunti Maharani's these prayers and try to remember Krishna. Because what did Kunti Maharani say? Somebody? What did Kunti Maharani say in 1.8.25?
That these calamities happen again and again, so we get the connection with the Lord, and that we free us from birth and death, the repetition cycle.
Very good. Very good. Questions, comments, realizations? Everybody on the same page?
Prabhu, just wanted to say exactly what you said. When I first read this verse, I said, do I really want to ask for more calamities to happen? And I paused, and then I said, calamities keep happening. I just understood exactly what you said, and that we keep turning to God each time.
Yeah, so we don't have to wake up and say, today I want calamities. No, don't say that. You wake up and say, today I want more services. But when calamities happen by themselves, and which are bound to happen by themselves, you use them to remember Krishna, and you use them to remember Kunti Maharani, and you use them to remember Krishna's devotee as well as Krishna's Krishna also. Everybody on the same page?
Prabhu, I had one question, Prabhu. So in our sadhana, every day we can start incorporating these prayers like text 22, 23. We can incorporate them and say with the prayer.
Yeah, you can say the prayers. Every morning you can recite the prayers.
Thanks.
To understand, we have discussed this in Bhagavad Gita 8.16 also, that material world is a dukkhala. It's a place of misery. Okay, let's do one more verse for today, and let's see, 1.8.26 is also a very important verse. Prerna, are you able to read 1.8.26 translation from screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, translation.
My lord, your lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to impress himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling.
So this is
Should
one
I
of the
read
quality. Yeah, you'll read very shortly, Prerna. Hold on. Is one of the quality of Krishna, akinchana gocharam. So from this point, a lot of qualities will get revealed in these prayers. So material advancement hinders spiritual advancement because people become puffed up. So this akinchana gochara is a quality of Krishna. Kinchana means something, and akinchana means nothing, and gochara means approachable. So akinchana gochara means one who is materially exhausted, he can approach Krishna with appropriate feelings. Therefore, Kunti Maharani says that one who is akinchana gochara can easily approach Krishna. So akinchana means nothing. And Srila Prabhupada says in a lecture that actually one who is akinchana actually possesses everything because they possess Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that actually akinchana position is very nice. That I am not cared by my friends and family, hence I am forced to come to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says that as long as I think I have this or that arrangement in the material world for my protection, then that is not akinchana. Rather, when one thinks I have no other protection other than Krishna, that is akinchana gocharam. That is a qualification for Krishna consciousness. Prerna, purport is pretty heavy. Read faster pace. Prerna. Malti?
Yes, Prabhuji. Sorry, I can't read properly. I will open my screen.
Yep. 1.8.26 purport.
1.8.26. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are made after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such material puffed up persons are incapable of altering the holy name of Lord by addressing him feelings, O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sin that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is no the least exaggeration in the statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such a powerful potency, but there is a quality of such utterance also. It depends on the quality of feelings. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name of quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely, first, high percentage, second, good health,
Parentage.
high parentage, second, good wealth, third, high education, fourth, attractive beauty, are so to speak disqualification for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature as much as favor is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of the favor and not to degrade it by treatment. Sometimes it is a sin that spiritually advancement person become materially impoverished. This is not a discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the feeling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be the decrease of the degree of material intoxication which lead one to be more and more illusion about the aim of life. Grossly illused persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God.
So pretty heavy purport that the four principles of life, such as high parentage, good wealth, high education, attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualification for the progress on the path of spiritual advancement. And Prabhupada gives a very good analogy here that the material covering is like a fever, external fever in the healthy body. And generally, say when somebody gets a fever, you want to decrease the fever, not increase the fever. Therefore, we should decrease our entanglement in the material world, means we have to decrease that fever. And this is actually a good sign, not try to advance at the material level with high parentage, good wealth, education, and beauty, etc. Questions, comments, realizations? Nitya?
Prabhu, why do we say good parentage or high parentage is a disqualification? The father is also one of our spiritual gurus, right, who helps us.
Yeah, it is referring to material parentage, that somebody may be having a high material parentage, means some high opulence way, who are not devotee. As long as you have devotee family, it is glorious. Krishna has already described this in chapter 6, referring to material opulences.
Thank you.
Okay. Homework questions, spiritual endeavors. 2 questions to answer. What is principle from Krishna's respective treatment of Kunti Maharani and Mother Devaki? Comes from verse 23. Next question. Explain why so-called calamities are welcome. Comes from verse 25. So the third one is, you might have already read up to verse number 43. I mean, today I was planning to cover up to 43, but we had a lot of important questions and long discussions on the question. Therefore, we didn't cover. If you're not already read, or you are welcome to read it again and try to identify Krishna's quality. So I described one as Akinchana Gochara, and the second part of Akinchana Gochara will follow in upcoming verse as well.
Prabhuji, can you kindly repeat question 1?
Question 1 is, what is principle of Krishna's respective treatment of Kunti Maharani and Mother Devaki? Comes from verse 23. Okay, we are just past 9 a.m. here in Toronto time. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, everybody.